Okay, so now that we've actually built our first piece of content, I want to talk about why all those pieces are super critical to making sure that we rank for the right keywords. So I'm going to show you a quick slide here, and it's going to kind of explain how these free commerce stores, you can apply this to anything, how you can basically utilize this framework of ranking based on factors we have personally tested over and over again with all of our clients over the past like 5 years, and it's absolutely nuts. So, okay, let's slip over here. Okay, so the first thing you need to do for any page, whether you're refreshing it or writing it from scratch or anything, is understanding where it's going to go. If for an e-commerce, for example, it's a collections page, you should be basically nailing these high volume or top tier keywords. The product should be low volume or long tail or branded keywords because we don't want the products to cannibalize off the collections. And the blogs should be those medium volume, but always supporting the collections, basically like we talked about earlier. But let me explain this a little bit better. So for example, I guess in for other industries as well, your collections might be actually your landing pages or your service pages. Like if you are a SaaS company, it could be like your benefit pages, like what your product is used for. It's ultimately like your main pages that are going to convert at the end of the day. Your products and collections actually kind of the same if you're a SaaS company. But let me just explain like why we want to determine one keyword for every single page. It's very simple. Google is a business. Their customers are searchers. Google is trying to crawl your page and your website as cheaply as possible. Their biggest cost are their servers and their resources required to crawl all these websites over and over again and then iteratively kind of batch crawl them, unless we have Google algorithm updates, which we'll talk about later, where they basically recrawl the whole internet instead of doing it in batches. So pretty interesting. But nonetheless, our whole goal is to not confuse Google. Do not give them too many mixed signals. After all the different things we've touched, all the ranking factors, there's like basically 5 core key ones that are absolutely critical that we nail and that are not a problem at all. Let me just show you here. These are in order of priority as well. URL should be an exact match of the keyword. I'm going to show you examples of this. H1, similarly, exact match or slight variant. Title tag, exact match, but almost like clickbaity a little bit. Like find out why, discover how, experience this. Like what is the benefit of somebody looking at these? I'm also going to show you what these are and where these show up on the search results because these are actually in metadata behind your page. So like a user that's going to your page isn't really going to see these 2 core areas. These are also the main things, the main basically ranking factors that get missed by so many companies. It's insane how many audits we do every week, but how many of them are missing meta descriptions or have just like really blanket basic title tags. These are core factors that help Google understand what your page is about. So we have got to nail them. It's all going to be centralized into one keyword and make sure it all makes sense. And the content itself, which we just produced in the earlier course here. But the whole goal is to make sure that all the copy, all the unique headings, all are kind of targeting questions around that main keyword, topics, discussions, benefits, also the cons of whatever that product is or whatever we're trying to target. So really important. We cover the positive and the negative. But we're here to talk about why Google ranks for this. Again, Google is a business, and their main customer are the searchers. They're trying to crawl and digest billions of pages a day and make sure they serve you with just 10 or so links that are most relevant to your search. Sounds easy, right? Turns out it's really complex and very expensive, which is why they're such a big company. But to do that, they're basically just parsing your page. There's very simply not even looking at the CSS. They're just trying to understand what your page is all about. And they do that using these ranking factors. So if we make all of these main ranking factors the same keyword and around the same keyword, it's going to allow us to rank very quickly, very effectively, and ultimately not confuse Google. It's like serving up your content to Google on a silver platter. And that's exactly what we want to do. Because guess what? They're going to reward us and say, great job. I'm going to rank you for that because you made that very cheap for me to crawl. And now I understand why you're an expert because you have all these other pages about the similar topics and all the questions that I know our searchers are asking in order. So really critical, but let me give you an example. So we're going to look at, whenever you do all this stuff, by the way, this is what it looks like. This is one of our clients, Organic Muscle. They sell amazing plant-based protein powder and pre-workout and all kinds of awesome supplements. But this is what happens when it basically just goes completely straight up and just absolutely scales. We started working with them like right around here, and you can see it just took a little bit to kind of get it moving, but then it just absolutely rips. So all the way down to page 1. So super awesome, but that is the main goal. And we do that by scaling content, by creating it over and over again, different angles, different variants, and just really kind of blowing the content out of the water. Like we just talked about on the courses. So, but let's look at their keywords, right? So this is the main keywords they have. This one in particular, we've been targeting very heavily, organic pre-workout. This is basically going to a product page. So let me explain what some of these pieces are. So if I Google organic pre-workout right now, they are actually for it. That's awesome. So, but this is the title tag right here. And this is the meta description. But I want it to be very clear here because it's important to note that the title tag and the meta description they're not guaranteed that if you give this to Google, they're going to put that on this page. Ultimately, the main reason why SEOs optimize these are for click-through rate potential, meaning that like if it's longer, for example, maybe they click on it more. That was the old technique. It's funny now because actually the shorter and more concise, the better for what we're seeing, which is why this is very short and sweet. But that's really important to note. And then secondly, like even the meta description, it's important to understand like why they're talking about this and like really why they're basically bringing this out. This is to help educate the people, the users that are clicking on these links as to why they're clicking on this. All these other extra effects here, they're all based on metadata, which is really critical that you also add to all these pages. It's really, really important. So cool. Okay, now we understand that. Let's look at the page itself. This is the page. But the meta description and title tag that we basically have, which I'm going to put this in a Google sheet very quickly so you can see this. So, okay, now I'm going to show you the meta description and title tag that we actually put in the search results or on the page itself, but then Google chose something different. So you can see here where the H1 is organic pre-workout. You can also see if you use a certain plugin, like an Ahrefs plugin, completely free, by the way. We love it. I just had to paste it in here so you guys can see it. But you can see our title tag, we put organic pre-workout powder, organic muscle fitness supplements, and a description. Boost your workout with all natural organic pre-workout powder. Boom, boom, boom. And then boom, on the H1, organic pre-workout. The H2 is the ingredients. H3s are all the ingredients, basically flowing up to the H2 and ad nauseum, because there's a whole bunch of more headings there as well. But it's important to note that we gave Google this information, and then Google distilled down and decided to show this. They showed it just quite simply, and they pulled this from something different too as well. Google will occasionally use your meta description. They'll occasionally use your title tag. They'll occasionally use both. But it's kind of like a crapshoot. But what's important is that we gave Google those signals. We told Google that we wanted to rank for organic pre-workout, period. So it's important to note that by actually putting the right keywords in there, we see uplift. So we made this change actually pretty recently. But by changing this up and centralizing this, it allows us to continue to iterate and build off that and improve the rankings over time. If you see a page get stagnant, you can go in and update the metas and titles to also help kind of give it that little boost. But I say all this to say that these things are super, super critical. And you really need to make sure that every single one of your pages has a proper title tag and meta description, and everything is pointing to one keyword, one major keyword. Even if that keyword has a difficulty of 98, who cares? We still want to hit that keyword. It doesn't matter. We need to hit that keyword. And you can also, of course, optimize for long tail keywords or for variants of it. But at the end of the day, it should be one page, one keyword, period. And that's really important that you scale that out. And then a long tail version of that would be a separate page. So by doing it like this, it allows you to build this network of pages that all kind of synchronize with each other, and they sound much better when they're all looked at together. It's like a symphony, basically. Like a bunch of the different instruments are all playing together to make beautiful music. And that's exactly what all these different pages on your content plan are going to ultimately be doing. So for example, talking about energy drinks here, talking about electrolyte gummies and caffeine gummies for runners. And then we have blogs about how to start running, a half marathon, how to run a 5K from nothing. And then also how these supplements are also impacting your running. Because then we're just talking about how the supplements can be helpful to your mental psyche or to your physical, how they're reacting in the chemistry of your body. So it's really important that everything is kind of synced up. And it's all helping you achieve higher rankings on the core pages that matter, which are, of course, for e-commerce, your collections pages or your product pages. For a SaaS company, it's probably your benefit pages, your landing pages, or your service pages. If you're a local company, it might be like, if you're like a roofer, for example, it might be your like roofing in Houston, Texas, commercial roofing, residential roofing in Austin, Texas, right? It's those main core pages. The pages where people convert, that's your goal, to drive traffic there. But to get those rankings higher, you have to create these other structured pages and help push them higher and higher. It's ironic, but funny. But back in the day, you used to basically keep optimizing the same page over and over again. So for example, if we wanted to get organic pre-workout higher, we would just keep optimizing that same page. But in today's Google, to get that higher, it's a little bit of an on page, but a lot of creating other new pages and scaling out these new pages. That's what's going to help this content rank higher on this one other page, because you've got like 13 other blogs about how pre-workout, if it expires, how it impacts your body's chemistry, when you should take it, when you shouldn't take it. You know, all these different pages we're going to create. That's going to help Google understand why we are the topical authority experts on all things pre-workout, or especially organic pre-workout, which is the case for our client. So hope this was helpful. I hope this kind of helps you diagnose why we're doing things like we do and why our tools make it very easy for you to understand how we're basically creating this content systematically using the data Google gives us and basically extracting exactly the questions that Google wants us to have on the page and then putting them on that page in a way that we know Google's going to be able to crawl and crawl very efficiently and effectively. And that's kind of the secret sauce. When everything goes together, we make that sweet sound of music. So that's our main goal here, and that's why we structure this like we do. But I wanted to show you how to build that first and then explain what we're doing on the back end, which is what we just did. So awesome. See you in the next course.